This is News Night, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tonight on the program, almost 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic and over 60 million vaccine shots later, Metro Manila and more than 30 other areas ease to the most relaxed COVID-19 restrictions. Does local politics get in the way of campaign sorties? At least one presidential candidate thinks it's a possibility. And the final trailer is out for Marvel's anti-hero Morbius. We'll give you a sneak peek. The country's capital region woke up to what could be reminiscent of pre-pandemic times. With face masks still on and other minimum health protocols in place, things are now considered new normal under Alert Level 1, the lowest in the COVID-19 response alert level system. 38 other areas are also under Alert Level 1 until March 15. The entire list is on your screens. These include the Ilocos region, parts of the Cordillera. The entire list is on your screens. These include the Ilocos region, parts of the Cordillera and Cagayan Valley regions, portions of Central Luzon, Southern Luzon, and Bicol. The same alert level for Aklan, Bacolod City, Capiz, Guimaras, Siquijor, and Pilinan, as well as Zamboanga City, Cagayan de Oro, Camiguin, and Davao City. The alert downgrade also marks the first year since the country rolled out the COVID-19 vaccination drive. As of February 21, 63 million people aged 5 and up have been fully vaccinated. Now, as the country transitions to life under a new normal, the health department stresses the need to get booster shots.
Ang booster shots ay mahalagang panlaban lalo higit kung magkakaroon pa ng bagong variant sa hinaharap. Ang pagiging bakunado ay mabisang panangga laban sa malubha at malalang sakit na maaring maging dahilan ng pagkakaospital o pagkakamatay.
The DOH says vaccination is among key factors that enabled a number of regions to shift to Alert Level 1. Well, rules in transport and public areas are more relaxed under Alert Level 1, but as Chrissy Di Matulak tells us, policies may vary according to the local government.
Sonny Velasquez removed the plastic barriers inside his passenger jeepney. On the first day of Alert Level 1 in Metro Manila, Sonny says he's looking forward to his trips for the day.
Pabor na pabor po, ma'am. Para naman balik naman datin sa dati. Ito tulad ng ganito, napakamahal ng diesel. Dito kami nalulubog sa diesel, ma'am.
Under the lowest alert level, public vehicles such as jeepneys can now operate at full capacity. All age groups, minors and seniors included, can ride public transport without need of identification cards. In train stations, showing proof of vaccines is also no longer practiced upon entering the station. Face masks are still a requirement. Meantime, there are some passengers who say the declaration of Alert Level 1 this month is a bit premature.
Yes po, para sa akin kasi di natin maiwasan yung matuto tao. Andiyan pa rin yung dapat mag-iingat pa rin tayo.
Opo, parang sobrang aga pa kasi parang nagpo-cope up pa lang naman halos lahat ng tao. Tapos and then malalaman na lang na magiging alert level number 1 na.
Even with loose restrictions, people we spoke to said it has become a habit for them to follow health protocols such as wearing of face masks. They also said that if there is anything the COVID-19 pandemic has taught them, it is to not be complacent. Chrissy Di Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Government offices also have to restore full on-site work operations. The government is encouraging businesses to do the same. But as Amor Santos reports, some companies want to extend work-from-home incentives.
Long lines await those applying for driver's licenses at the Land Transportation Office in Quezon City on Tuesday. LTO Chief Edgar Galvante says LTO offices are back to full operations in Metro Manila and several other areas under Alert Level 1. Only employees with medical conditions are allowed to work from home.
Yung opisina namin, bukas lahat. Unless merong positive, medyo magre-restrict kami. Pero more or less, sa ngayon, open na lahat.
But has this improved services?
Kulang, ang daming taong nag-aantay, yung dami nilang naaabala, ang bagal ng proseso.
Dumating ako dito mga alas 8 na. Okay naman, pipila ka lang talaga.
Drivers Edgardo and Lamberto both turned 50 on Tuesday. They spent their birthday waiting to get their licenses renewed, unaware that the LTO has extended the validity of permits and licenses for 2 months.
Okay naman. Normal naman ganito, lagi may pila. Kahit saan namang LTO.
Dapat nga mas mabilis kasi pag-transaction kami dito, naka-time in kami doon sa trabaho namin eh.
According to Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, the government is also encouraging businesses to have their employees physically report to work.
Ina-encourage yung on-site presence, but work from home is still optional. Kasi may mga businesses na prove na efficient din yung may work from home. So, ang mangyayari nito, hybrid. Ang benefit nito, yung mga negosyo sa paligid ng mga opisina, commercial establishment, nabubuhay pag mas maraming empleyado na mga pumapasok physically.
The Trade Department expects Alert Level 1 to bring back up to 500,000 jobs, a much-needed boost for the country's economic recovery efforts. But hundreds of companies in the information technology and business process management or IT BPM industries are pushing for the extension of work-from-home incentives. They say flexible work arrangements will sustain the growth of the country's IT BPM sector. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The Health Department announced another 1,067 new COVID-19 cases and no new deaths. This is the first time since July 9, 2020 that there were 0 new fatalities logged, apart from the days that the government reported technical issues. The positivity rate also dropping to below 5% for the first time since December 29 at 4.3%. Meanwhile, there will be no more COVID-19 case tally beginning next week. Instead, the agency is poised to release a weekly update on the COVID-19 situation every 4 p.m. beginning next month, March 7th. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere says as part of the transition to the new normal, there will be a focus on the severity of infection and not the case count.
Mientras la crisis en Rusia.
Russia showing no signs of concession as it intensifies its assault in Kiev, even after Ukrainian officials demanded a ceasefire. Satellite images show a massive 40-mile-long convoy of Russian forces reaching the outskirts of the embattled capital. At least 9 people were killed after Russia bombarded Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, with rockets. Several large detonations were heard in Kiev on Monday amid supposed talks in Belarus. U.S. officials fear the worst is yet to come for Ukraine with a looming second wave of attacks, while the Philippines is set to convene security officials in an attempt to escalate response. President Duterte is leading a special meeting for the first time since the crisis broke out. Our Tristan Odalo reports.
President Rodrigo Duterte echoes the Philippine position at the United Nations General Assembly condemning Russia's incursion into Ukraine. The president has called for a special meeting to discuss the developments on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Mr. Duterte will be meeting with select cabinet officials, the military, and the Philippine National Police.
We have to tell the younger generations of what is at stake. Our plea in the plenary would really be to join the call for restraint and to de-escalate the violence. I will be calling for a special meeting. We will discuss about what is evolving or what's happening in Europe.
The Philippines has voted in favor of a United Nations General Assembly resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In a statement, the Foreign Affairs Department says the civilians must be protected and hostilities must come to an end. Meantime, 13 Filipinos who were able to cross the Poland border from Ukraine are expected to return to Manila on Tuesday. The Philippine Embassy in Poland adds that evacuating Filipinos from Ukraine is now an enormous challenge due to the ongoing crisis which has limited the modes of transportation.
To assure you that your embassy is here to assist you and to get you out of harm's way. So sana mas marami kaming makumbinsi sa inyo na umalis na sa Ukraine kasi sa totoo lang po, and as we keep telling all the Filipinos na nakamiting namin dito, Ukraine is not going to be the same. it's not going to be the same. So I think kailangan mag-isip, mag-decide.
Some Filipinos also evacuated from Ukraine to Moldova, Romania, and Hungary, but the DFA says that these Filipinos prefer to stay in these countries and wait it out until the conflict in Ukraine is over. Tristan Nudalo, CNN Philippines.
More stories ahead. An official belies claims the Caloocan local government revoked presidential candidate Isko Moreno's campaign permit for political reasons. And as the election campaign continues, COMELEC says it will disclose the general topics for its presidential and vice presidential debates. Details next.
Bilib ako sa MX3 dahil ito ay napatunayang may alpha, beta at gamma mangosteen. MX3 capsule helps avoid pain discomfort para iwas sakit. Tested and proven na low sodium, cholesterol-free at fat-free. Dito ako sa tunay, natural at original. MX3.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Ang pain reliever mo, Advil Strong ba? Pag ang pain pabigat, mag-Advil Liquid Gel. Mas malakas kaysa paracetamol para lakas labanan ang iba't ibang pain. Kaya lakas ginhawa, mag-Advil ka na.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Presidential candidate Manila Mayor Isko Moreno cancels his motorcade in the city of Caloocan after the local government revoked his campaign permit. As Paulo Barcelon tells us, one Caloocan official is rejecting accusations the move may be politically motivated.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno started his day early with a visit to the office of Malabon City Mayor Lenlen Oreta. It was a quick, cordial meeting outside City Hall, after which Moreno held a motorcade and met with local candidates and supporters in the city. This was supposed to be followed by a sortie in Caloocan City. Aksyon Demokratiko applied for a permit for a motorcade in Caloocan on February 28. It was initially approved, but a second letter was sent the same day saying the request has been denied because the motorcade route will fall under the jurisdiction of the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. The City Hall letter cited MMDA guidelines that state motorcades are only allowed on weekdays and holidays from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Nasabihan na nila ang MMDA din, ang Caloocan, ng City Administrator, na binawi na raw nila yung permit dahil magkaka-traffic down. So, syempre, hindi mo maaalis sa aming mag-isip na local politics ang maaaring naging dahilan.
Aksyon Demokratiko is fielding Congressman Egay Erice in the mayoral race against Congressman Dale Malapitan, son of incumbent Mayor Oka Malapitan, who's already on his third term. Malapitan's slate has endorsed Moreno's rival, former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Marcos held a 14-hour motorcade in Caloocan last February 19 and even campaigned in Moreno's bailiwick, Manila, the next day. In a statement, Caloocan City Administrator Oliver Hernandez said the motorcade permit denial was not politically motivated. Hernandez also said it cannot issue a permit for Aksyon Demokratiko without an application from the MMDA, which forced them to revoke the permit they prepared. The Moreno campaign confirms it canceled the planned Caloocan sortie as a result, but Moreno isn't bothered.
Sa ating mga kandidato sa Maynila, welcome kayo. Hindi nyo na kailangan ng permit. Mga kandidato senador, vice president, at saka mga party list at president.
In contrast, Senator Manny Pacquiao's motorcade in another part of Caloocan City pushed through today. Hernandez says Pacquiao was granted a permit because they complied with both MMDA and LGU requirements, and that their motorcade only passed through inner roads under their jurisdiction. Just yesterday, Pacquiao held a motorcade in Pasig, whose mayor, Vico Soto, is the executive vice president of Moreno's Aksyon Demokratiko.
Paulo Barcelon, CNN Philippines.
Well, Senator Pacquiao urges the Commission on Elections to ease campaign restrictions under Alert Level 1. Pacquiao says people should be allowed to approach candidates for hugs and selfies. He adds giving souvenirs should no longer be prohibited. Other COMELEC rules include the ban on handshakes and kisses, as well as prohibiting candidates from entering the homes of residents.
I hope na marinig tayo ng COMELEC, mag-adjust sila para hindi naman mahirapan yung nangangampanya. Kaya nga tinawag itong kampanya, kailangan makipagkamay, makipag-face bump ang isang kandidato. Luwag-luwagan naman nila. Pati yung pagbibigay ng mga t-shirt, pinagbabawal. Dapat mabago nila yung ano nila para kapani-paniwala naman.
The capacity in indoor or outdoor campaign venues also remains at 70%, even under Alert Level 1. Vehicles joining motorcades may operate at full capacity, provided only candidates or campaign supporters who come from the same household share a ride.
As far as everything else is concerned, the campaigns, we're already at minimum health protocols, which wala naman na tayong marirelax pa dyan. Except yung siguro bilang ng tao na pwedeng pumasok sa mga venues natin. Still don't wanna do 100% because obviously may pandemya pa rin. Level 1 lang. In the meantime, we're still not in receipt of any formal request to relax our guidelines. No? So we will continue with the guidelines as they are.
COMELEC set to release the general topics for its upcoming presidential and vice presidential debates. The poll body spokesperson James Jimenez stresses it will not disclose specific questions ahead of the debates on March 19th and the 20th.
We would like the debates to be fair, and every candidate will have the opportunity to do whatever research they need to do in preparation for the debates.
For presidential candidate Calyodi de Guzman, there is no problem with disclosing general topics as long, he says, as specific questions will not be leaked. COMELEC will meet with the representatives of the candidates this week to agree on the general rules of the debates, as well as to address the concerns raised by the team of presidential hopeful Bongbong Marcos. It asked the poll body about discussing the format of succeeding debates.
Kasi ito ginagawa sa ibang bansa, particular sa Amerika, na lahat ng tatakbo roon sa debate ay talaga nag-usap-usap para pagdating sa debate, yung ground rules ay settled na. So, walang problema roon. Talagang ito yung sulat, talagang subulat sa tayo. Pero, unfortunately, hanggang ngayon, wala pa hong sagot sa amin ang COMELEC. Wala pa.
Marcos's team had earlier denied confirming his attendance in the debate or in COMELEC's debate, saying that will depend on his schedule and the debate rules. During the CNN Philippines presidential debate, candidates who showed up clashed over the country's mounting debt. And as CN Arcangel reports, all but one want to probe a particular government agency for corruption.
What is the significance of 11.7 trillion?
For Vice President Leni Robredo, former presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella, and Senator Manny Pacquiao, borrowing money is good if it will fund key government programs.
Sinisiguro natin na pag tayo naupo bilang Pangulo, titingnan natin kung saan ito ginastos at sisiguraduhin natin na babayaran natin yung utang, sisiguraduhin natin na mapupunta siya sa dapat mapuntahan.
Hindi tayo dapat matakot sa utang. Because depende rin kung saan natin ilalagay. Kung aantabayan na natin yan, then we can actually supervise it and make it grow.
Okay lang mangutang kung may investment tayong ilalagay. For example, shortage sa power dito. O magutang tayo, then maglalagay tayo ng power generator.
For Senator Panfilo Lacson, government funds must be spent judiciously, while Manila Mayor Isko Moreno shared his proposal on how to pay off the country's enormous debt.
Dapat balancing budget, yung non-essentials, hindi dapat nang binabudgetan.
I will dispose non-performing, underperforming asset to the state to offset to our debt servicing.
But for Labor leader Yodi de Guzman and Dr. Jose Montemayor, incurring debts isn't good for the country.
Masamang utang. Kasi ito inutang mula kay Marcos ng mga nagdaang administrasyon. inutang ito ng mga trapo, ng mga dynastiyang nakaupo sa gobyerno.
Masama yan, no? We are mortgaging the future generation. Kawawa ang ating mga anak, kawawa ang ating mga apo.
On the issue of corruption, presidential bets gave the same answer on which government agency should be investigated first for wrongdoing.
Kay Secretary Abella, ang sagot po ninyo, BOC, Bureau of Customs. Customs din kay Calyodi, Customs din kay Mayor Isko. Customs kay Secretary Bert and Bureau of Customs kay Senator Ping.
Si Mr.
Pakitaas lang po ulit ha, sorry. Pakitaas lang po.
Mr. Faisal Mangundato, IBDC 1.
BOC.
Sorry, it's BOC also. Okay, yan ang unang-una, kaya may number 1. Si Dr. Montemayor, Bureau of Customs also. Senator Pacquiao, kayo po? Ay, isa lang po. Pili kayo ng isa. What is the first one? Department of Health for Senator Manny Pacquiao and for Vice President Leni Robredo, yung una po. Bureau of Customs as well.
Pacquiao also mentioned the Bureau of Customs, but it was fourth on his list. In a statement, the Customs Bureau said it welcomes and supports all investigations. Cian Arcangel, CNN Philippines.
From the clash of the presidential contenders to the face-off of the VP candidates, Paige Javier takes us behind the scenes before and after the cameras started rolling.
It was like the calm before the storm ahead of the CNN Philippines vice presidential debate. Gone were the usual pageantry as the candidates quietly arrived at the venue. Rizalito David was the first, arriving without staff unlike most of his opponents. The rest of the candidates followed suit, having their own pre-debate rituals. While some bets used the free time for last-minute review, Dr. Willie Ong and David exchanged pleasantries with their opponents. Senate President Tito Soto prayed. All eyes were on Soto and Senator Kiko Pangilinan, whose families are caught in between the vice presidential bets. Their wives, showbiz personalities Helen Gamboa and Sharon Cuneta, are related. Soto and Pangilinan often spoke on stage and off stage, showing that there's no bad blood between them.
Nag-uusap naman kami, magkasama kami sa Senado. My wife and my daughters, iba ang thinking nila.
This is a, sabihin na natin, a friendly fight in that regard. And nasa level ng pagiging professional.
7 out of 9 vice presidents. The calm was replaced by the storm when the lights and cameras went on. Former Akbayan Party List Representative Walden Bello started and ended the debate with a bang.
Mayor Sara Duterte, why are you not here to defend your positions? I'm really terribly sorry that Mayor Duterte is not here to face the people. She is a coward. Just like Bongbong Marcos is a coward.
Even after the debate, Bello continued his tirades against Duterte.
Why are you scared of showing up in public? Hinahamon ka namin sa debate, huwag ka nang duwag.
Duterte spokesperson Liloan Mayor Cristina Frasco said they have no comment. Bello then targeted Soto and Pangilinan on new laws and the maritime row.
You said that you are going to align with the Quad.
No, Senator.
No
interruptions, please.
That is consist. He never dissented from any major legislative push by the President. Kaya hindi independent ang kandidatong ito.
Bello's microphone was temporarily muted when he interrupted other candidates.
I was not looking for a fight, but if lies or if misimpressions are being told, then I have to correct them.
Yun ang batas, yun ang...
Soto and Pangilinan remain unfazed despite taking the heat from Bello.
Kasama sa debate yan. Kasama ang minsan talagang maanghang na palitan ng salita.
Yes, probably misunderstood some things or perhaps dahil wala si Sara Duterte, akong kursunada niya.
Bello did not throw punches against other candidates. He only attacked latest survey frontrunners Duterte, Soto, and Pangilinan. This debate may be done, but the battle is far from over. The vice presidential bets are saving the knockout punch to hopefully win the Filipino vote. Paige Javier, CNN Philippines.
In a statement issued Monday night, Sara Duterte spokesperson Liloan Mayor Cristina Frasco said the mayor decided to campaign without attending debates. Franco also said the presidential daughter wants to work on the ground to win votes and not limit her exposure to tweets and sound bites. Well, did you miss the live broadcast of the CNN Philippines presidential and vice presidential debates? You can catch the replays of the presidential debate on Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 8 p.m. The VP debate will be run on Saturday at 7 p.m. Straight ahead on Newsnight, more people are set to join Team Philippines for the Southeast Asian Games, with the latest count exceeding 600 athletes. And a new Marvel film focuses on one of Spider-Man's comic book villains. A glimpse at the final trailer of Morbius after the break.
May vitamins pamparesistensya at VitaDigest pang-manage ng blood sugar at gutom. Kaya't huwag mag-diabetes, mag-diabetasol.
Toothpaste ba panlinis mo ng pustiso? Nagdudulot ito ng gasgas na maaaring pamahayan ng bakterya. Ang pustiso ay mas malambot kaysa totoong ngipin. Use Polident Cleanser that kills 10 times more bacteria than regular toothpaste. Polident.
Happy birthday!
Pag ganito ang drama, ang cute. Pero di cute ang dramang dala ng lagnat. Magparacetamol Calpol. Works within 15 minutes. Gentle sa tiyan. Doctor prescribed paracetamol Calpol.
Welcome back. Women's Month begins today, and CNN Philippines is once again putting the spotlight on female trailblazers. Among them, Vice President Leni Robredo, the highest female government official in the country and the only presidential candidate this year who is a woman. We asked Robredo how the government can further empower Filipinas.
Ang dami pa natin kailangan gawin para yung mga kababaihan natin lalong ma-empower. Yung number one sa akin, economic empowerment. Yung opportunities para sa mga kababaihan na makapaghanap buhay kahit nag-aalaga ng mga pamilya. Nakita ko ito sa ang daming mga tinulungan ko na mga victims of domestic abuse. Na talaga yung economic empowerment, ito yung nagpapalakas sa kanila. And ang gobyerno kailangan siguruhin na yung opportunity na yun binibigay natin sa ating mga kababaihan.
Robredo was also the lone female candidate for vice president in 2016. Well, more athletes will be wearing the country's colors at the Southeast Asian Games, with the number of competitors now at 656. That's a jump from the 584 athletes the Philippine Olympic Committee reported in January. They will compete in 44 events that are part of 39 out of 40 sports in this year's Games. POC says it has yet to receive the list of participants for athletics, men's 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 basketball, weightlifting, and jiu-jitsu. SEA Games are set for May 12th to the 25th in Hanoi, Vietnam. Another origin story, this time from one of Marvel's anti-heroes. The final trailer for Morbius, starring Jared Leto, is out, with more on the scientist-turned-vampire's efforts to resist his monstrous new urges. More scenes with Michael Keaton's Vulture Clue fans in on the connection of Morbius to the Spider-Man film universe.
Michael Morbius.
You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be. Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Catch Morbius in cinemas beginning March 30th. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. and on Politics as usual at 8:30 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Mas pinalawak,
mas pinalakas. RPN sa iba't ibang mga lalawigan. DZRL Bataan, DZBS Baguio, DZKI Iriga, DYKB Bacolod, DYKC Cebu, DXKS Surigao, DXKD Dipolo, DXKO Cagayan de Oro, DXKT Davao, DXKP Pagadian, DXXX Zamboanga, DXDX General Santos.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, DXKD Dipolo Radio Ronda, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Helping Filipinos navigate through a raging pandemic and now seeking answers from the Commission on Elections over an alleged data breach. Vice President Leni Robredo juggles her time to personally address these top-of-mind national concerns while making her case to the Filipino people to bid or in a bid for the highest position in the land come May 9th, 2022. We now have the Vice President herself for an up-close interview here on Newsnight. Good evening, ma'am, and thank you very much for joining us. Let's begin with this, the pandemic, of course, that is really top of mind. We understand that you don't like the or appreciate the government policy of no vaccination, no ride. As a matter of fact, you say what is important is to ramp up vaccination. What we need to do is to inform and incentivize. Can you explain more about that?
You know, Pia, we have been having Vaccine Express in many parts of the country. And from our experience, hindi kailangan takutan eh. From our experience, kailangan mo lang talagang tiyagaan to educate people. You have to make sure that yung vaccination accessible to them. And pangatlo, talagang to incentivize. I will give you a very specific example. We did the vaccination in Capas Tarlac for the Aita community. Before we went, we were already being warned that ayaw ng Aita community magpabakuna. Pero when we went, talagang we worked with the local government unit, sinundo sila, nagbigay kami ng mga food packs, nagbigay kami ng mga other incentives. And you know, the turnout was very, very good. And we have not just done that in Capas, but we have been doing that elsewhere. So para sa akin, dapat sana yung vaccination, hindi siya lalabas na paparusahan ka kung hindi ka bakunado. Pero talagang we go out of our way and exert our best effort to really educate, to really bring the vaccination where people are and provide incentives.
You brought up this issue about bringing the vaccination to people, no? And that is something I remember in late December when I interviewed Charlie Galvez, and he was saying that that could be a logistical challenge for the LGUs in lalo na sa far-flung areas. Can you talk about that?
Totoong logistical challenge siya, Pia, pero government should not do it alone. Our Vaccine Express initiatives, we were able to do a lot of things because we have been partnering with the private sector. Sa amin, Pia, hindi siya naging mahirap. Hindi siya naging mahirap because all our initiatives has really been a collaboration, not just between our office and the private sector, but also with the local government unit.
Okay. Ma'am, about a week, was that a week or 2 weeks ago, I remember you were very upset with allegations on social media that one of your daughters had skipped or cut quarantine or something or other. And also, after Christmas, before New Year's, ang daming nagalit doon sa Poblacion Girl and yung isa pa, no? Pero nakasuhan din naman yung dalawa. The question here is how should we move forward on something like this when there are alleged blatant disregard for the rules? How do we appeal to Filipinos, to our citizens, to para bang
Parang integrity yan eh. Pwede na, integrity is what you do even when no one is looking, right?
Ito, Pia, dapat natuto tayo from the lessons na yung Poblacion Girl incident gave us. Nung sumabog yon, marami yung naglabasan. Apparently, it has been happening already. So gusto kong sabihin, may problema tayo sa implementation. Kasi yung protocols naman are in place. Kaya sa akin, Pia, kailangan we should have learned from that lesson kasi it was very costly for us. So yung sa akin, halimbawa, ito personal experience, Pia, na yung mga anak ko traveled from the US, dumating sila on the 20th, na-swab sila on the 24th, lumabas yung kanilang results on the 25th. Sa tatlo kong anak, isa yung nag-positive. So my daughter was telling me na tinawagan siya ng Bureau of Quarantine, the protocols were explained to her, ang advice sa kanya, isolation facility. So ano naman, klaro yung mga protocols. So after checking out of the hotel, she went straight to the isolation facility, and nasa isolation facility, meron mga protocols in place. She was still required to do home quarantine for another 6 days. So kung nasusunod lang sana ito, Pia, maayos lahat. Halimbawa yung sa anak ko, walang nahawa in the family, na-control yung spread of the virus. The main reason why nangyari yung Poblacion Girl incident, kasi may nagsiskip ng protocols na kung hindi sumabog, hindi ma-reveal yung mga gaps in the implementation.
Which is also why kinasuhan na nga several people and groups. No? But ma'am, my last question before we go to a break, if you were to win the election, what is the first thing you would do to address the pandemic on day 1, June 30? Minutes after taking your oath, for example, if you were to win?
Ako, Pia, talagang yung pinaka-first agenda is freedom from COVID. If we are able to control the transmission of the virus, it will set everything else in motion. So, eto yung first major step towards full recovery. And then we need to ensure the availability of jobs and livelihoods as we begin to make our way forward in the new normal. I think in mid-November, we put out our kalayaan sa COVID plan already. And in December, we put out our hanap buhay para sa lahat. It's available sa lennyrobredo.com. And yung sinasabi natin, the core principle of this plan is ensuring that progress is felt in the communities. And really, that begins with jobs. Yung kalayaan sa COVID, kabahagi doon yung getting the economy back on its feet, making sure that the healthcare system will be resilient moving forward, and yung education, grabe yung damage to the education of our children. 2 years na, Pia, 2 years na hindi talaga nakakapasok yung marami sa ating mga so talagang ito yung mga priorities natin.
And since elections na pinag-usapan, ma'am, let's jump from the pandemic to politics. But we're going to do that after taking this very short break. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. Welcome back. This is Up Close with the presidential aspirant VP Leni Robredo. Ma'am, Vice President, I remember the April 2016 CNN Philippines VP debate. You said, and I paraphrase, I will be the last woman standing. Can you still say that today with 2 huge factors? Very popular, if you look at the pre-campaign surveys, a very popular Bongbong Marcos and the pandemic. Can you say the same thing right now?
Most definitely, Pia. Una-una, I am the only woman candidate again, just as I was when I ran for the vice presidency. And number 2, my record will speak for itself. Ang dami kong binagdaanan in the last 5.5 years that I was vice president. And nakatayo pa din ako ngayon, Pia. At lumalaban pa din.
Is, in your estimation, is Bongbong Marcos some sort of a Teflon candidate? Kasi parang ang dami ng binato sa kanya, kanya pa rin, nangunguna pa rin sa survey.
Ano kasi Pia, it's many different things. Unang-una, yung kanyang effort to really revise the way people parang to really not just history, not just to really revise history, pero pabanguhin yung pagtingin ng tao sa mga Marcoses. Yung initiative na to ginawa way back, even before he ran for the vice presidency. And over the years, relentless talaga yung effort na gawin yon. And ngayon, nire-reap niya yung benefits noon. Naon niya talaga yung social media, Pia. In fact, it's one of the more difficult challenges that we are facing. Because alam natin, sobrang dami ng fake accounts ngayon. Alam natin na social media is working on algorithms. So, nasa-saturate talaga yung mga distribution channels na yung tao hindi na nabibigyan ng enough na opportunity to really know what is right and what is wrong. So, kailangan doble talaga yung effort to make it known to people what is true and what is not.
Do you think, or should he be disqualified, or do you want him disqualified? Because many of those who believe in you and will vote for you want him disqualified for reasons that were used to file those DQ cases against him, or the petitions to cancel his COC. Or do you want to slug it out with him this May 2022? I remember you said you wanted na yung kalabanin talaga siya.
Ako Pia, ayoko mag-comment dun sa disqualification case, but if you were to ask me, mas gusto ko talunin natin siya sa eleksyon para matapos na ito.
Mas gusto niyong talunin siya sa eleksyon. Para anong matapos na ito? Ano yung ito doon?
Yung narrative kasi Pia, kung naalala, yung narrative, kung naalala mo, nung natalo ko siya sa eleksyon, dahil inuun niya yung social media, ang dami naniniwala na dinaya ko siya. Kahit ilang beses pa ako nanalo sa Supreme Court, ito yung narrative na pinupush niya. So, kailangan talagang talunan siya sa susunod na eleksyon para once and for all, mahinto na yung ginagawa niya na pagpapapaniwala sa tao nung narrative na gusto niyang i-push.
Are there any regrets, ma'am, at this point in time that the four of you, Ping Lacson, Isko Moreno, and Manny Pacquiao, didn't get your act together in a way, or didn't unite, hindi kayo nag-solidify?
I would have to admit I was frustrated at first because I was very hopeful. I was very hopeful when I started talking to the many different candidates na we would unite behind one common candidate. Pero regret siguro Pia hindi. Kasi ako, I exerted all effort. And after the talks failed, to a very large extent, I was successful in uniting not the presidential candidates, but the very many groups that are behind our candidacy now. Maraming ngayon mga volunteers, Pia, na iba-iba yung pinanggalingan. So sabi ko, if I was not able to unite the presidential candidates, at least ito, yung tao, yung sinusubukan natin na i-unite pang lalo.
Pag-usapan natin sandali lang yung kampanya because there was this announcement that you have this new campaign slogan. So very briefly talk about that, but at the same time talk about that previous effort to kumbaga juxtapose you against President Duterte as the Tatay Digong, and then you were going to be the parang mother figure, the nanay, the ina, but that didn't work out ba?
Yung naging problema namin when we started was that we were not prepared for the deluge of volunteers. And nung nagkaroon ng onslaught of volunteers, our first decision was to give them as much elbow room as possible, as much independence as possible, to chart the kind of campaign that they want. Yun sana yung gusto natin, really to make it an honest to goodness people's movement. Pero yung naging problema lang nun, Pia, kasi dahil iba-iba yung pinanggalingan ng mga grupo, kanya-kanya din yung messaging na ginagawa. So yung nanay was an initiative of one group, yung Let Lenny Lead was an initiative of another group. Iba-iba yung mga messaging na pinupush. So ang nangyari dito, parang ang observation, naging sobrang mixed yung signals, diluted yung messaging. That is why in December, we had to decide on just one that will encapsulate everything that we want to convey.
Okay. In the middle of this investigation that's going to happen on this alleged COMELEC hacking incident, are you still confident about the elections? Because as a candidate, you submit yourself to the process, to the system. You won in 2016. It's the same, practically the same system. So, andyan pa po ba yung kumpiyansa ninyo?
Ako, it's worrying. Ako, I have to admit, Pia, na it's worrying. That's why the first day that we learned of an alleged hacking incident, naglabas kami ng statement ni Senator Kiko urging COMELEC to conduct a full-blown investigation and to really ensure na yung integrity ng system is in place. Kasi gaya na sabi mo, syempre cause for worry siya kung na-hack ito kasi unang-una kung i-hack ano yung dahilan. So kung ang dahilan is to meddle with the with the integrity of the elections, it is worrying not just for us candidates pero syempre for the electorate. Kasi gusto lang naman natin masiguro na yung boses ng tao yung madadala. So yung sa akin, it is enough reason for us to stay vigilant. Kailangan talagang tutukan natin yung buong proseso just to make sure na kung ano yung will ng tao, yun yung lalabas during the elections.
Yes, that is the most important. Ma'am, we have a minute to go and I know this may not sound like a very fair question to you, but it's so important, especially because, people's attention spans are so short and we don't always have the luxury of time to explain everything. But there are three big things here. One, the economy, reviving the economy. Two, the war on corruption and the war on drugs, which were the centerpieces of the Duterte administration. So my question here would be, and if you can, put it in one minute capsule, what is it that you're going to do in the first 100 days? One, to revive the economy. Two, I'm sure you want to continue this war on corruption. And three, how are you going to reimagine this war on drugs?
Ako yung number one, Pia, naglabas na ako yung hanap buhay para sa lahat and kalayaan sa COVID plan. Nandun yung lahat na detalye. But at the core of a more long-term view are the goals na stopping corruption, investing in the Filipino, taking advantage of available technology. So parang it should encapsulate everything after we control the pandemic. Pero yung sa drugs, I will pursue it with as much vigor. Pero yung programa, hindi gaya ng nangyayari ngayon. When I was ICAD chair for 18 days, I already submitted a comprehensive plan on how to do it. And pag nabigyan ako ng pagkakataon, yun yung gagawin ko. Meron na ako nito ng point by point, step by step, kung paano gagawin. But the war on drugs should be pursued with as much vigor. Pero absent what has been happening now na maraming patayan.
Vice President Leni Robredo, presidential aspirant for May 2022. Ma'am, thank you so much for the time you gave us tonight. Salamat po, ma'am.
Thank you, Pia.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXK